Part 1. The Desperate Pleadiar. Marcus Chen pushed his glasses up his nose as he walked through the long halls of Harmony's Edge Research Station. The metal walls hummed softly with the sound of life support systems. Blue lights from the ceiling cast strange shadows as he made his way to the botanical lab. It was late in the evening shift, and most of the station was quiet. Marcus loved this time of day. The corridors were peaceful, and he could think clearly about his work. As the station's only human xenobiologist, he spent his days studying how different alien species lived and grew. It was fascinating work, but sometimes lonely. Humans were still new to this part of space. Many aliens found them strange. As he turned the corner near the observation deck, Marcus heard a soft crying. He stopped and listened. The sound came again. Definitely someone crying, but not like a human would cry. The sound was more musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Marcus followed the sound and found a small figure sitting alone on a bench near the large window that showed the stars outside. It was a young Etherian girl, maybe 12 years old. Her skin was like clear blue glass, and normally it would glow with beautiful patterns of light. But right now, those patterns were flickering weakly, like a dying candle. "Hello there," Marcus said softly. He sat down on the bench, leaving some space between them. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up at him with large silver eyes filled with tears. When Etherians cried, their tears looked like tiny diamonds. "You are the human doctor," she said in a small voice. Her English was good, but she spoke with the musical accent of her people. "Yes, I'm Marcus," he said with a gentle smile. "What's your name?" "I am Zilla Venth," she said. "My mother is Dr. Lysa Venth. She works in the plant laboratory." Marcus knew that name. Dr. Venth was famous on the station for her brilliant research with plants. She could make crops grow in places where nothing should be able to live. But Marcus had not seen her around the labs for several months. "I know your mother's work," Marcus said. "She's very smart. But I haven't seen her lately. Is she okay?" Zilla's light patterns flickered more rapidly, showing her distress. "No," she whispered. "She is not okay. She has not been okay since Papa died." Marcus felt his heart sink. He had heard about the shuttle accident 6 months ago. Transport. The ship had hit an asteroid field, and several people had died. He had not known that Dr. Venth's husband was one of them. "I'm very sorry about your father," Marcus said gently. "Thank you," Zilla said, wiped her diamond tears with the back of her hand. "But I need to tell you something important. Something about my mother." She turned to face Marcus completely. The starlight from the window, her blue skin looked almost ghostly pale. "Dr. Marcus, do you know about Etherian bonding sickness?" Marcus shook his head. He knew that Etherians were different from humans in many ways, but he did not know about this. Zilla took a deep breath. "When Etherians find their life partner, they bond completely. Their lights sync together. Their hearts beat as one. It is beautiful, but it is also dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Marcus asked. "If one partner dies, the other gets very sick. Not just sad, actually sick. Their light starts to fade. Their body forgets how to be healthy. If they cannot form a new bond, they will die too." Marcus stared at her in shock. "Your mother is dying?" "Yes," Zilla said, fresh tears rolling down her cheeks. "Every day she gets weaker. Her light is almost gone. The Etherian healers cannot help her. Station counselors try, but they do not understand. She needs to bond with someone new, but she says she cannot. She says her heart is too broken." Marcus felt overwhelmed. This was far beyond his knowledge of plant biology. "Zilla, I don't know how to help with something like this. Not a doctor for people. I study plants and small creatures. But you are human," Zilla said urgently. She grabbed his arm with both her small hands. "Humans are different from all other species. Everyone knows this. Different how? You can bond with anyone," she said, her eyes bright with desperate hope. "I have watched humans on this station. They make friends with Vorthok warriors, even though Vortheks are supposed to be too proud. They laugh with Zephyrian traders, even though Zephyrians are supposed to be too serious. They even play games with the Christian engineers, even though Christians are supposed to be too logical." Marcus had never thought about it that way, but But she was right. Humans did seem to get along with most species they met. Dr. Marcus, Zilla continued, I have been watching you work. You are kind. You are gentle. You care about living things, even tiny ones that others ignore. I think maybe you could help my mother learn to bond again. What exactly are you asking me to? Zilla looked down at her hands. When she spoke again, her voice was so quiet he could barely hear it. I am asking you to court my mother, to show her that her heart can care for someone new, to help her smile again. Marcus sat back in surprise. This was not what he had expected when he decided to help a crying child. Zilla, that's a very big request. I don't even know your mother very well. She is wonderful, Zilla said quickly. She's brilliant and kind. Before Papa died, she would sing while she worked. Her light patterns would dance like music made visible. She would tell me stories about the plants she discovered and how they could help people across the galaxy. What is she like now? Zilla's own lights dimmed with sadness.
Ow!
She barely speaks. She stays in our quarters most of the time. When she does come out, her light is so faint that other Etherians whisper about her. They think she's already half dead. Marcus felt a deep sadness for this family. Have other Etherian men tried to court her? Yes, but she will not even look at them. She says no one can replace Papa, but maybe. Zilla looked up at him with hope in her silver eyes. Maybe she would not see you as a replacement. Maybe she would see you as something new, something different. Zilla, what if I tried to help but it didn't work? What if your mother doesn't want my friendship? What if she gets angry at both of us? Then she will die anyway, Zilla said simply. Dr. Marcus, I know this is a strange request. I know you might think I am just a child who does not understand grown-up things, but I have been reading about bonding sickness. The medical files say she has maybe 2 months before her body shuts down completely. 2 months. Marcus felt the weight of that deadline. This little girl was asking him to save her mother's life, but he had no idea how to even begin. What makes you think I could succeed where others have failed? He asked. Because you are human, she said again. Humans do impossible things. Humans survive when they should die. They make peace when there should be war. They find hope when everything looks hopeless. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the stars. Finally, he asked, What would you want me to do, exactly? Just spend time with her, Zilla said eagerly. Talk to her about her work. Show interest in the things she cares about. Be kind to her. Maybe invite her to have meals with you. Show her that life can still have good moments. And if she starts to care for me, what then? Then maybe her heart will remember how to be happy, Zilla said. Maybe her light will grow strong again. Maybe she will want to live. Marcus looked at this brave little girl who was trying to save her mother's life. Her own light patterns were weak from worry and fear. She was probably not sleeping well or eating enough. If her mother died, Zilla would be alone in the universe. I need to think about this, Marcus said finally. We do not have much time, Zilla reminded him. I know.
Oh, give me until tomorrow evening.
Can you meet me here again? Zilla nodded eagerly. Yes. Thank you for listening to me, Dr. Marcus. Most adults would think I am being foolish. You're not foolish. Zilla, you're trying to save someone you love. It's the most important thing anyone can do. As they stood up to leave, Marcus asked, Does your mother know you're asking for help? No, Zilla admitted. She would be embarrassed. She thinks she should be strong enough to handle this alone. Marcus nodded. That sounded like something a proud scientist would think, as they walked back toward the residential areas. Marcus's mind was spinning with questions. Could he really help an alien woman learn to love again? Was it right to get involved in such a personal situation? What if he made things worse? But as he looked down at Zilla's hopeful face, he realized he had to try. This little girl needed her mother, and her mother needed help that only a human might be able to give. Tomorrow, he would give Zilla his answer. Tonight, he had a lot of thinking to do. Part 2. Understanding across species. Marcus spent the entire night staring at the ceiling of his small quarters. Sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Zilla's tearful face and heard her desperate words. Please help my mom. Smile again? By morning, Marcus had made his decision, but first he needed to understand what he was getting into. He went straight to the station's main computer and began searching for information about Etherian biology and culture. What he found surprised him. Etherians were not just pretty aliens with glowing skin. They were one of the most emotionally complex species in known space. Their bioluminescent patterns were not just decoration, they were a complete language that showed their feelings, health, and even their thoughts. Marcus read that when Etherians bonded with a life partner, their light patterns would synchronize. They would literally glow in harmony with each other.
Oh.
Their hearts would beat at the same rhythm. Even their sleep cycles would match perfectly. But the most shocking thing he learned was about bonding sickness. It was not just sadness or grief like humans experienced. It was a real medical condition that could kill. When an Etherian lost their bonded partner, their entire nervous system would start shutting down. Their body would forget how to regulate temperature, how to digest food properly, even how to sleep. The light patterns that kept their immune system strong would fade away. Most Etherians who developed bonding sickness died within 6 months. Marcus sat back in his chair, feeling overwhelmed. Zilla's mother was already 6 months into this condition. She was probably very close to the point of no return. He kept reading and found something that gave him hope. The medical files mentioned that some Etherians had recovered from bonding sickness by forming new bonds, but it was rare, and it required very specific conditions. The new bond partner had to approach with genuine care, not pity. They had to understand Etherian culture deeply. Most importantly, they had to be able to provide the kind of emotional stability that Etherians needed to survive. Marcus thought about what Zilla had said, that humans could bond with anyone. Maybe there was truth to that. Humans did seem to adapt to other cultures more easily than most species. That afternoon, Marcus made his way to the botanical research labs. He had not been there in months, since his work focused on small creatures rather than plants, but he needed to see Dr. Lysa Venth for himself. The labs were quiet and filled with the green glow of growing plants. Marcus walked past rows of experimental crops and strange alien flowers until he found the section marked Advanced Agricultural Research. There alone in a corner lab, he found her. Dr. Lysa Venth was beautiful in the way that all Etherians were. Beautiful, but Marcus could immediately see that something was wrong. Her blue skin looked pale and thin, almost transparent. The light patterns that should have been dancing across her body were barely visible, just faint flickers like dying. Stars, she was bent over a microscope, examining plant samples, but her movements were slow and tired. She looked like someone who was forcing herself to work despite being very sick. Marcus knocked gently on the lab door.
Dr. Venth.
She looked up, and Marcus saw that her silver eyes were dull and unfocused. It took her a moment to register that someone was speaking to her.
Yes.
She said in a voice that was barely above a whisper. Dr. Marcus Chen, the xenobiologist. I was wondering if I could ask you about your research. Lysa blinked slowly. My research? Yes. I've read your papers on symbiotic farming techniques. They're brilliant. I was hoping you could explain some of your methods to me. For a moment, Marcus thought she was going to send him away, but then something flickered in her eyes. A tiny spark of interest. Double quotes. You read my work? She asked. All of it, Marcus said truthfully. He'd spent the morning reading every research paper she had ever published. Your method for growing Terran wheat in Vorthok soil conditions is revolutionary. I can't figure out how you made it work. Lysa straightened up slightly. Her light patterns flickered a little brighter. It was about finding the right bacterial balance, she said slowly. Most researchers focus on the plants themselves, but the real secret is in the soil microorganisms. That's fascinating, Marcus said, and he meant it. Could you show me? For the next hour, Lysa walked Marcus through her research. As she talked about her work, something amazing happened. Her voice grew stronger, her movements became more fluid, her light patterns began to pulse with more energy. Marcus realized that Dr. Venth was not just a brilliant scientist. She was passionate about her work in a way that reminded him of the best researchers he had ever known. When she explained how her techniques could help feed entire colonies, her eyes lit up with genuine excitement. This could solve food shortages across 3 star systems, she said. showing him charts and data. Planets that could never grow their own food could become self-sufficient. "Why aren't you publishing this new research?" Marcus asked. Immediately, Lysa's light patterns dimmed again. She looked down at her hands. I haven't been able to focus properly. Not since. She trailed off, but Marcus understood. It's not since. Her husband died. Dr. Venth, Marcus said gently, "This research is too important to leave unfinished. People across the galaxy could benefit from your work." "I know," she whispered, "but I can't. I'm not strong enough to work alone anymore." Marcus made a decision. "What if you didn't have to work alone?" She looked up at him in surprise. Marcus continued, "What if we collaborated? Your expertise in plant biology combined with my knowledge of alien ecosystems, we could finish this research together. You would want to work with me?" Lysa asked, sounding almost childlike in her surprise. "It would be an honor," Marcus said honestly. For the first time since he had met her, Lysa almost smiled. It was just a tiny expression, barely visible, but it was there. I would like that," she said softly. They agreed to meet the next day. To begin working together? As Marcus left the lab, he felt hopeful for the first time since Zilla had asked for his help. That evening, Marcus met Zilla at their agreed location near the observation deck. The little girl ran to him as soon as she saw him coming. "Dr. Marcus, what did you decide?" she asked eagerly. "I'm going to help your mother," he said, "but not in the way you originally asked." Zilla's face fell. "You won't court her?" "I'm going to do something better," Marcus explained. "I'm going to be her research partner. I'm going to help her finish the work that she's passionate about." "But will that help her get better?" Marcus knelt down so he was at Zilla's eye level. "Zilla, I learned something important today. Your mother's research could save millions of lives. Right now, she's too weak to work on it alone. But if I help her, if I give her the support she needs to do what she loves most, then maybe her strength will come back." "You really think so?" "I saw her light up when she talked about her work," Marcus said. "For just a few minutes, she looked like the brilliant scientist she used to be. If we can help her remember why her work matters, maybe we can help her remember why living matters too." Zilla's own light patterns began to glow more brightly with hope. "And if she gets stronger from working with you, maybe someday she could love again?" "Maybe," Marcus said. "But first, let's focus on helping her love her work again." "Love for what?" "She does love for the people she can help with her research. That kind of love might be enough to heal her." Over the next few days, Marcus and Lysa began working together in earnest. Marcus brought fresh perspectives to her research, while Lysa's deep knowledge helped him understand plant biology in ways he had never considered. More importantly, Marcus noticed that Lysa was getting stronger. She started arriving at the lab. Earlier, she began eating lunch instead of skipping meals. Her light patterns grew brighter each day. Other researchers in the botanical section began to notice too. They would stop by to ask Lysa questions about her work, and she would answer with growing confidence. "She's like a different person," one of the Zephyrian botanists told Marcus. "A few weeks ago, we thought she might not survive. Now she's working on research that could change everything." Marcus was pleased with their progress, but he knew they were racing against time. Lysa was getting better, but she was still very fragile. The bonding sickness was still there, waiting to claim her if she became stressed or overwhelmed. Then one morning, everything changed. Marcus arrived at the lab to find Lysa staring at a set of test results with tears in her eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked, rushing to her side. "It's not wrong," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's perfect. Marcus, look at this. The symbiotic bacteria are not just helping plants grow in alien soil, they're actually improving the soil quality. Over time," Marcus looked at the data and felt his heart skip a beat. This means ... This means that planets with damaged ecosystems could be completely restored," Lysa finished. "Dead worlds could be brought back to life." They stared at each other in amazement. This was bigger than just solving food shortages. This was a way to heal entire planets. Lysa, Marcus said softly, "You've just discovered something that could change the fate of countless worlds." For the first time since her husband's death, Dr. Lysa Venth smiled a real, genuine smile. Her light patterns blazed across her skin, like a beautiful aurora. "We did this together," she said. "I could never have seen this con." Part 3. The deepening connection for 3 weeks. Marcus and Lysa worked together every day. Their research was making incredible progress, and Lysa was getting stronger. Her light patterns were brighter, her voice was clearer, and she had even started eating regular meals again. Marcus found himself looking forward to their work sessions. Lysa was not just brilliant, she was kind, funny, and passionate about helping others. When she explained her theories, her whole face would light up with excitement. When she laughed at his jokes, her bioluminescent patterns would dance like music made visible, but Marcus also noticed that Lysa was beginning to watch him carefully. Sometimes he would catch her looking at him with a puzzled expression, as if she was trying to figure something out. One morning, Marcus arrived at the lab to find Lysa already there, but she was not working. She was sitting at her desk, staring out the window at the stars. "Good morning, Lysa," Marcus said cheerfully. "Ready to test the new bacterial samples?" Lysa turned to look at him, and Marcus was surprised to see that her light patterns were flickering with what looked like confusion and worry. "Marcus," she said slowly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why are you really here?" Marcus felt his stomach drop. "I don't understand what you mean." Lysa stood up and faced him directly. 3 weeks ago, you appeared in my lab asking about my research. You said you had read all my papers, which means you spent time studying work that has nothing to do with your own field. Then you offered to collaborate with me on a project that could take months or even years to complete. Marcus tried to think of something to say, but Lysa continued. "You bring me lunch every day. You ask about my health. Make sure I take breaks when I get tired. You treat me like—" She paused, searching for the right words. "You treat me like someone who matters to you personally, not just professionally. You do matter to me," Marcus said honestly. "But why?" Lysa asked, and now Marcus could hear pain in her voice. "We barely knew each other before this. I have been sick and weak and barely able to hold a conversation. Why would someone like you want to spend time with someone like me?" Marcus realized that he was at a crossroads. He could try to lie, to make up some professional reason for his interest. Or he could tell her the truth and risk everything. "Lysa," he said gently, "if I tell you the truth, will you promise to listen to the whole story before you get angry?" Her light patterns flickered faster with anxiety. "That sounds like something that will make me very angry." "It might," Marcus admitted, "but you deserve to know the truth." Lysa sat back down, her posture tense. "Tell me." Marcus took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, I met your daughter Zilla on the observation deck. She was crying." Immediately, Lysa's eyes widened with alarm. "Zilla, what happened to her? Is she hurt?" "She's not hurt," Marcus said quickly, "but she's very worried about you. She told me about your bonding sickness. She told me that you were dying." Lysa's light patterns went completely dim. She looked down at her hands, and Marcus could see that she was trembling. "She asked me to help you," Marcus continued. "She asked me to court you, to help you learn to bond with someone new so that you wouldn't die." "She did what?" Lysa whispered, and now Marcus could hear both embarrassment and anger in her voice. "I told her I couldn't do that," Marcus said quickly. "I told her it wouldn't be right to pretend romantic feelings. But I also couldn't ignore that a little girl was trying to save her mother's life." Lysa stood up abruptly and turned away from him. "So this whole time, everything we've done together has been— what? Charity? Pity?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "Lysa, please listen to me. When I first came to your lab, I thought I was just helping a colleague get back on her feet. But working with you these past weeks has been the most rewarding experience of my career." "You don't have to lie to me," Lysa said, her back still turned to him. "I'm not lying. Your research is revolutionary. Your mind is incredible. And yes, I care about your health, but not because I pity you. I care because you're a brilliant scientist who has important work to do. God. And because you're a good person who deserves to be happy." Lysa was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was very small. "Zilla shouldn't have asked you to do this. She's just a child. She doesn't understand that some things cannot be fixed. Maybe they can't be fixed, Marcus said. But maybe they can be helped. Maybe they can be different than they were before, but still good. Before Lysa could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the station. The lights in the lab switched to emergency red, and a voice came over the intercom. Attention, all personnel. We have a critical situation in Agricultural Base 7. All botanical specialists report to emergency stations immediately. Marcus and Lysa looked at each other in alarm. Agricultural Base 7 was where the station grew most of its food. They ran through the corridors toward the agricultural section, joining other scientists and engineers who were also responding to the emergency. When they reached Base 7, Marcus saw immediately that the situation was very bad. The entire bay was filled with dead and dying plants. Row after row of crops that should have been green and healthy were brown and withered. The air smelled of decay and sickness. Commander Torres, the station's leader, was standing in the middle of the bay with the head of agricultural operations. Both of them looked very worried. What happened here? Lysa asked, her scientific instincts taking over despite their earlier conversation. Some kind of blight, Commander Torres replied. It started 3 days ago in Section C and has been spreading. Rapidly, we've lost 60% of our food crops. Dr. Yamamoto, the head of agriculture, shook his head grimly. I've never seen anything like it. It's not responding to any of our usual treatments. At this rate, we'll lose everything within a week. How long can the station survive without these crops? Marcus asked. Maybe 2 months if we ration strictly, Commander Torres said. But that assumes we can get supply ships here in the nearest. Agricultural world is 6 weeks away. Marcus looked around at the dying plants and felt a chill of fear. But then he looked at Lysa, and he saw something that surprised him. Her light patterns were not flickering with panic or despair. Instead, they were pulsing with the steady rhythm he had learned to associate with her deep thinking. I need to take samples, Lysa said suddenly. Dr. Venth, with respect, our agricultural team has already, Dr. Yamamoto began. Your agricultural team is looking at this as a plant disease, Lysa interrupted. But what if it's not? What if it's a soil problem? What if something has contaminated the growing medium itself? Marcus felt a spark of understanding. The bacterial balance, he said. Exactly, Lysa said, her eyes lighting up. If something has disrupted the symbiotic relationships in the soil, the plants won't be able to process nutrients properly. They'll starve, even if they look healthy on the surface. Can you fix it? Commander Torres asked. Lysa looked around at the devastated crops, then at Marcus. I don't know, but if anyone can figure this out, it's us. Our research has been focused on exactly this kind of problem. How long would you need? Dr. Yamamoto asked. Give us 48 hours, Marcus said. If we can't find a solution in that time, you'll know it can't be done. Commander Torres nodded. You have whatever resources you need. The entire station is counting on you. As the crowd dispersed and other people began organizing the emergency response, Marcus and Lysa were left alone in the dying agricultural bay. Marcus, Lysa said quietly. I'm sorry about earlier, about what I said. You don't need to apologize. You had every right to be upset. No, I was wrong, she said. It doesn't matter why you started helping me. What matters is that you did help me. And now, when the station needs us, I'm strong enough to do this work because of what we've built. Together, Marcus looked at her and saw that her light patterns were glowing with determination and purpose. This was not the dying woman he had met 3 weeks ago. This was Dr. Lisa Venth, brilliant scientist, ready to save her entire community. Need to get to work, she said. We have less than 2 days to solve a problem that could kill everyone on this station. Then let's solve it, Marcus said, as they began collecting samples from the diseased soil. Marcus realized that something important had changed between them. The awkwardness from their earlier conversation was gone. They were no longer a researcher and patient or helper in person being helped. They were partners. Equal partners working together to save lives. And somehow, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. But as they worked, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this crisis was bigger than it appeared. The timing seemed too convenient. Coming right when Lysa was finally getting strong again, he hoped he was wrong. but deep down he suspected that their real test was just beginning. Part 4. Human Determination and Unconventional Solutions. Marcus and Lysa worked through the night, taking samples from every section of the dying agricultural bay. By morning, they had filled 3 tables with test tubes, data sheets, and microscope slides. Both of them had dark circles under their eyes, but neither wanted to stop. "The bacterial count is completely wrong," Lysa said, looking up from her microscope. "There should be millions of beneficial microorganisms in healthy soil. These samples have almost none." Marcus checked his own results. "It's the same everywhere. Something killed all the good bacteria that help plants absorb nutrients." "But what?" Lysa asked, frustration clear in her voice. "We've tested for every known agricultural toxin, every common disease, every possible contamination source." Marcus rubbed his tired eyes. They had been working for 18 hours straight, and they were no closer to an answer. Worse, reports from the agricultural bays showed that the blight was spreading faster than ever. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong," Marcus said slowly. "What do you mean?" Marcus stood up and began pacing around the lab. "We keep looking for something that killed the bacteria. But what if the bacteria weren't killed? What if they were ... changed?" Lysa stared at him. "Changed how?" "I don't know yet. Think about it. We're not finding any dead bacteria in the soil. If something poisoned them, we should see evidence of that. Instead, it's like they just disappeared." Lysa's light patterns began pulsing faster as she considered this idea. "You think they might have been converted into something else? Maybe. Or maybe they're still there, but they're not doing their job anymore." Lysa jumped up from her chair. "Marcus, you might be right. What if we've been looking at this as a death problem when it's actually a behavior problem?" They spent the next 4 hours running completely different tests. Instead of looking for what was missing from the soil, they looked for what was there. That shouldn't be. Finally, Marcus found something strange. "Lysa, look at this," he called out, his voice filled with excitement. She hurried over to his microscope. "What am I looking at?" "These are the beneficial bacteria we should find in healthy soil," Marcus explained. "But look at their structure. See how their cell walls look different." Lysa adjusted the microscope focus. "They look thicker somehow, and their shape is wrong." "Exactly. It's like they've been reprogrammed. They're still alive, but they can't function properly anymore." "What could cause something like that?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking hard. Then his eyes widened with understanding. "Lysa, 3 weeks ago, when I first came to your lab, you mentioned that you were working on bacterial modification techniques." "Yes, but that research was just theoretical. I never actually..." Lysa stopped talking, her face going pale. "What is it?" "My old research notes," she whispered, "from before my husband died. I was working on a way to modify soil bacteria too, make them more efficient. But the early experiments went wrong. Bacteria became too aggressive and started changing other microorganisms." "Where are those notes now?" I don't remember. After the accident, I couldn't work for months. Might have left them somewhere or given them to someone for safekeeping, or..." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Lysa, is it possible that someone found your old research and tried to use it?" Before she could answer, the lab door burst open. Commander Torres rushed in, followed by Dr. Yamamoto and 2 security officers. "Dr. Venth, Dr. Chen," Commander Torres said urgently. "We need to talk now." "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "We found something disturbing," Dr. Yamamoto said. He held up a data pad. "Security was investigating how the blight might have started, and they found evidence that someone accessed the agricultural systems 3 days ago without authorization." "Who?" Lysa asked. "Dr. Vorthok," Commander Torres replied. "The Vorthok researcher who works in the biochemistry lab?" Marcus knew Dr. Vorthok by reputation. Vorthoks were proud, aggressive aliens who believed that strength was the most important quality in the universe. They respected humans for their fighting ability, but they often looked down on species they considered weak. "Why would Dr. Vorthok sabotage our food supply?" Marcus asked. "You don't think it was sabotage?" One of the security officers said, "We think it was an experiment that went wrong." Commander Torres activated the data pad showing them security footage. "This is from 3 nights ago. Watch." The screen showed Dr. Vorthok in Agricultural Base 7, working alone in the middle of the night shift. He was injecting something into the soil of several plant beds. What was he injecting? Lysa asked. We found these in his lab, Dr. Yamamoto said, holding up several empty vials. They're labeled as Enhanced Agricultural Bacteria Venth Formula. Lysa gasped, and her light patterns went completely dim. No, she whispered. He found my old research. The research that went wrong? Marcus asked. Yes, but I never published it. I never even put it in the official database. How could he have? Lysa stopped, realization dawning on her face. My husband, before he died. He was helping me organize my research files. He might have saved copies of everything, even the failed experiments. Where is Dr. Vorthok now? Marcus asked. That's the problem, Commander Torres said grimly. He's barricaded himself in his lab, refuses to come out or explain what he did. Just keeps saying that he was trying to make the station stronger. Marcus felt anger building. In his chest, he used experimental bacteria on our food supply without permission. That's not making us stronger, that's risking everyone's lives. Can we reverse what he did? Dr. Yamamoto asked Lysa. Lysa was quiet for a long moment, thinking hard. Light patterns flickered weakly as she considered the problem. Maybe, she finally said. Okay. If I can remember exactly what went wrong with my original research, I might be able to develop a counter-treatment. But it will take time, and we'll need Dr. Vorthok to tell us exactly what he used. He won't talk to us, Commander Torres said. Every time we try to communicate with him, he just says that Vortex don't explain their actions to weaklings. Marcus looked around at the worried faces of the command staff. These people were depending on him and Lysa to save the station. But they couldn't do it without information that only Dr. Vorthok could provide. Then Marcus had an idea. It was risky, maybe even dangerous, but it might be their only chance. Commander Torres, Marcus said. I want to talk to Dr. Vorthok myself. It might not be safe, one of the security officers warned. Vorthoks can be unpredictable when they feel cornered. I know, Marcus said. But Vortex respects strength and directness. Maybe if I approach him as an equal, not as someone trying to punish him, he'll be willing to help fix what went wrong. Lysa grabbed Marcus's arm. Marcus, this is too dangerous. What if he hurts you? Marcus looked down at her worried face and felt something warm spread through his chest. She was concerned about him, not just as a research partner, but as someone she cared about personally. I'll be careful, he promised. But Lysa, we're running out of time. If we can't get the information we need from Dr. Vorthok, the entire station could starve. Commander Torres considered this for a moment, then nodded. You can try, but you'll have security backup, and at the first sign of trouble, we're pulling you out. An hour later, Marcus stood outside Dr. Vorthok's lab. The door was sealed. He could hear the sound of equipment being moved around inside. Marcus took a deep breath and activated the intercom. Dr. Vorthok, this is Dr. Marcus Chin. I want to talk to you about the bacteria you used. There was silence for several seconds. Then a deep, growling voice replied, Go away, human. I will not be interrogated by weaklings. I'm not here to interrogate you, Marcus said calmly. I'm here because we need your help to save the station. The station does not need saving. I made it stronger. Dr. Vorthok, the bacteria you used are killing our food supply. People will starve if we can't fix this problem. Another long silence. Then, that is not possible. Yeah. The Venth formula was designed to improve plant growth. It was an early version of the formula, Marcus explained. Dr. Venth discovered that it had dangerous side effects, which is why she never published it. But you didn't know that when you used it. Marcus heard the sound of the door locks disengaging. Slowly, the door slid open, revealing Dr. Vorthok. He was over 7 feet tall, with gray skin covered in protective scales and fierce red eyes. He looked like a warrior, not a scientist. You were saying I made an error? Dr. Vorthok asked his voice dangerous. Marcus looked the imposing alien directly in the eye. I'm saying you tried to help, but you didn't have all the information you needed. Now we need to work together to fix the problem before people die. Dr. Vorthok stared at Marcus for a long moment. Marcus could feel his heart beating fast, but he forced himself to stand still and meet the alien's gaze. Finally, Dr. Vorthok stepped aside. "Come in, human. Tell me what went wrong." As Marcus entered the lab, he realized that this was what made humans special, not just their ability to fight or survive, but their willingness to reach out to others, even former enemies. When lives were at stake, now he just had to hope that it would be enough to save everyone on the station. Part 5. A new kind of family inside Dr. Vorthok's lab. Marcus found chaos. Equipment was scattered everywhere. Research notes covered every surface, and the air smelled of failed chemical experiments. The large Vorthok scientist looked embarrassed. For the first time since Marcus had known him, "I do not understand what went wrong," Dr. Vorthok said, his deep voice filled with frustration. "The formula was supposed to make plants stronger. Instead, they are dying." Marcus looked at the research materials spread across the lab tables. "Dr. Vorthok, where exactly did you find Dr. Ven's research?" "In the personal files of her deceased husband," Dr. Vorthok replied. "After the shuttle accident, his belongings were stored in the station archives. I was looking for information about nutrient absorption when I found her early bacterial modification notes." "Did you read all of her notes?" "I read the successful parts," Dr. Vorthok said proudly. "The parts that showed how to make bacteria more aggressive in breaking down nutrients for plants." Marcus felt his heart sink. "What about the parts that explained why she stopped the research?" Dr. Vorthok looked confused. "I did not think those parts were important. They were just discussions of minor problems." "Those minor problems are what's killing our crops right now," Marcus explained, gently. Dr. Venth discovered that making bacteria too aggressive causes them to attack each other and destroy the entire soil ecosystem. For a moment, Dr. Vorthok's fierce expression crumbled. I was trying to help." Vorthok's believed that strength comes from making everything around us stronger. "I thought, if I could improve the station's food production, I would bring honor to my people and help the community." Marcus felt a wave of sympathy for the confused alien. "You did want to help, but Dr. Vorthok, next time you find someone's research, you need to read all of it, not just the parts that seem successful." "Can the damage be repaired?" Dr. Vorthok asked quietly. "I don't know," Marcus said honestly. "But Dr. Venth is working on a solution. She'll need to know exactly which version of her formula you used and how much you applied." Dr. Vorthok immediately began gathering his notes. "I will give her everything, and I will help in any way I can." Marcus smiled. "That's exactly what we need." 2 hours later, Marcus returned to the botanical lab with Dr. Vorthok's complete research data. He found Lysa bent over her computer running complex calculations while Zilla sat nearby quietly doing her homework. "Mama's been working without stopping," Zilla told Marcus when she saw him. "I brought her some food, but she says she's too busy to eat." Marcus looked at Lysa with concern. Her light patterns were flickering rapidly with stress and exhaustion. She had been pushing herself too hard, and he worried that the strain might trigger her bonding sickness again. "Lysa," Marcus said gently, "you need to take a break." "I can't," she replied without looking up from her work. "I think I know how. To neutralize the modified bacteria, but the calculations are extremely complex. If I make even one mistake, the counter-treatment could make things worse." Marcus set Dr. Vorthok's notes on her desk. "I brought you everything he used. But first, you're going to eat something and rest for an hour." "Marcus, we don't have time. We don't have time for you to collapse from exhaustion either," Marcus interrupted firmly. "Zila, help me convince your mother to take care of herself." Zila jumped up from her chair. "Dr. Marcus is right. You're starting to look pale again, and your lights are flickering the way they did when you were sick." Lysa looked at her daughter and seemed to notice for the first time how worried Zilla appeared. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." "Then please eat something," Zilla said, pushing a plate of food toward her mother. As Lysa finally began to eat, Marcus reviewed Dr. Vorthok's notes. What he found both amazed and terrified him. "Lysa," he said slowly, "Dr. Vorthok didn't just use your early bacterial formula. He modified it to make it even more aggressive." Lysa nearly choked on her food. "He did what?" "He thought your original research wasn't strong enough, so he added additional genetic modifications to make the bacteria work faster." That's insane, Lysa exclaimed. The bacteria were already too aggressive in my early experiments. Making them stronger would be like adding fuel to a fire. Marcus nodded grimly. That's why the blight is spreading so fast, or not. Just dealing with your original modified bacteria, we're dealing with a super aggressive version that Dr. Vorthok created. Can we still fix it? Zilla asked, her young voice filled with fear. Lysa was quiet for several minutes, studying the data. Finally, she looked up with determination in her eyes. Yes, but it will require something I've never tried before. What instead of trying to neutralize the aggressive bacteria, we need to introduce a completely different type of bacteria that can outcompete them, Lysa explained. It's like introducing a natural predator to control an invasive species. Marcus felt a spark of excitement. That's brilliant. Do you have bacteria like that? Not yet. But I can create them using the symbiotic farming techniques we've been developing. The bacteria that help plants grow in alien soil, I can modify those to be specifically effective against Dr. Vorthok's super aggressive strains. How long? Will it take working alone? Maybe a week? But Marcus, we don't have a week. Marcus stood up with determination. Then you won't work alone. We'll get help. Over the next 12 hours, Marcus organized the most unusual research team in the history of Harmony's Edge Station, Dr. Vorthok. Eager to make up for his mistake, worked alongside Lysa to understand exactly what his modifications had done. Dr. Yamamoto and his agricultural team prepared the delivery. Systems that would spread the counterbacteria throughout the agricultural bays. Even Zilla helped, organizing research notes and keeping track of experimental results. But the most surprising help came from the other alien species on the station. When word spread about what the research team was trying to do, scientists from every culture volunteered to assist. The Zephyrian mathematicians helped with the complex biological calculations. The Christan engineers designed new equipment to culture the bacteria faster. The Etherian medical staff monitored Lysa's health to make sure she didn't push herself too hard. I've never seen anything like this, Dr. Vorthok said to Marcus, as they worked side by side in the lab. On Vorthok worlds, we compete with each other to show our individual strength. But humans, make everyone around them want to work together. Marcus smiled. That's because we learned long ago that we're stronger together than we are alone. After 24 hours of non-stop work, they finally had their solution. The counterbacteria were ready, and the delivery system was in place. As the team gathered in Agricultural Base 7 to release the treatment, Marcus felt nervous, but hopeful. Are you sure this will work? Commander Torres asked. The theory is sound, Lysa replied, but we won't know for certain until we try it. They released the counterbacteria into the soil of the agricultural bays and then waited. For the first few hours, nothing seemed to change. Crops continued to look sick and dying. But on the second day, Marcus noticed something wonderful. Tiny green shoots were beginning to appear among the brown, withered plants. It's working, Lysa breathed, her light patterns glowing with joy. By the end of the week, the agricultural bays were completely restored. The new crops were not just healthy, they were growing better than ever before. The counterbacteria had not only eliminated the aggressive strains, but had created the most nutrient-rich soil the station had ever seen. 3 months later, Marcus sat in the observation lounge, watching Lysa give a presentation to a group of visiting scientists from across the galaxy. She was explaining their breakthrough in bacterial soil management, and her audience was fascinated. And that, Lysa concluded, is how we learned that the key to healing damaged ecosystems is not to fight the problem, but to introduce better solutions that naturally restore balance. The audience applauded enthusiastically, and Marcus felt proud of everything they had accomplished together. She's amazing, isn't she? A familiar voice said beside him. Marcus turned to find Zilla sitting in the chair next to him. The young Etherian was glowing with health and happiness, her light patterns dancing with contentment. Yes, she is, Marcus agreed. How are you doing, Zilla? I'm wonderful, she said. Mama is healthy and happy. She's doing important work that helps people across the galaxy. I have a family again. A family. Zilla nodded toward the presentation room, where Lysa was now talking with Dr. Vorthok about future research projects. Mama, you, me, and even Dr. Vorthok were not the kind of family I had before, but we're still a family. Marcus realized she was right. Over the past few months, their little group had become something special. They ate meals together, celebrated each other's successes, and supported each other through difficulties. Lysa had never fallen in love with Marcus in the romantic way that Zilla had originally hoped, but she had found something equally valuable, a chosen family of people who cared about her and believed in her work. Dr. Marcus, Zilla said thoughtfully, I want to thank you. For what? For showing us that there are many different ways to love someone. You helped my mama remember how to love her work, love her life, and love our little family. That was exactly what she needed. Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion.